The massive crystal chamber sparkled with light from a dozen different suns as alien beings from across the galaxy gathered for their most important meeting of the year. The Galactic Confederation Council sat in a perfect circle, their various forms creating strange shadows on the polished floor. Some floated in gravity fields, others stood on multiple legs, and a few existed as pure energy contained in special suits. Ambassador Velthera stretched her 4 blue arms and tapped the table with her clawed fingers, her large yellow eyes focused on the holographic image floating in the center of the room. It showed a small blue and green planet orbiting an ordinary yellow star in a quiet corner of the galaxy. 37 cycles, she said in her harsh voice that sounded like metal scraping against stone. 37 full cycles since we first contacted these creatures called humans. And what response have we received? Nothing. Complete silence. They ignore every message we send. The insect-like representative from the Hive Collective made clicking sounds with his mandibles before speaking through his translator device. His compound eyes reflected the chamber's lights as he moved his head from side to side. My scouts have observed their world many times. They show no signs of advancement, no ships beyond their tiny planet, no expansion to other worlds, no weapons that could threaten even the smallest of our vessels. Commander Thys from the crystalline hegemony shimmered as her body changed colors from blue to purple. Her form looked like living glass, beautiful but sharp enough to cut through metal. I have reviewed all intelligence reports about Earth. These humans still use primitive chemical rockets to barely reach their own moon. They fight wars with metal projectiles and explosive devices. They cannot even work together as a single species. The chamber filled with sounds that might have been laughter from beings that had never seen humor the way humans understood it. Some made high whistling noises, others created deep rumbling sounds, and a few simply flashed different colors. They live such short lives, added the representative from the Eternal Ones, a being so old that galaxies had been born and died during its lifetime. Barely 100 of their years before they ceased to exist. How could such brief creatures ever accomplish anything meaningful? Velthera stood up, her full height reaching nearly 3 meters. Her voice grew louder and more confident. I propose we stop wasting time on these silent primitives. Their outer solar system contains valuable resources, rare metals, energy, crystals and gas giant atmospheres perfect for our expansion projects. Since they refuse to communicate, we should treat them as we would any uninhabited system. The floating energy being from the Void Walkers pulsed brighter. The law requires us to respect claimed territories of sentient species, it said in a voice like distant thunder. But are they truly sentient? Commander Thys asked, her glass body now glowing bright red. Sentient beings respond to contact. They show curiosity about the greater galaxy. They seek to learn and grow. These humans do none of these things. They hide on their little world like frightened animals. The debate continued for hours, but the outcome was never really in doubt. One by one, each representative spoke about humanity's failures. They talked about Earth's silence as proof of weakness. They discussed human wars as evidence of stupidity. They pointed to the lack of space expansion as confirmation that humans would never matter in galactic affairs. Very well, Velthera announced when the discussion finally ended. I call for a formal vote. All in favor of classifying the Sol system as non-entity territory, available for resource extraction. Every representative voted yes. Some did it quickly, others took time to consider, but none voted to protect Earth. The decision was unanimous and final. Earth would be treated as if no intelligent life existed there. As the council members began to leave, making plans for mining fleets and extraction operations, none of them noticed the small object floating in the shadows near the chamber's ceiling. It looked like a piece of space debris, too tiny and ordinary to deserve attention. But this seemingly worthless chunk of metal contained technology that would have amazed them if they had bothered to examine it. The device recorded everything. Every word spoken, every gesture made, every detail of their plans for Earth's destruction. All of this information traveled instantly across impossible distances through methods the aliens could not detect or understand. Far away, in a place the Galactic Confederation had never found, The message arrived at its destination. Dr. Kim Minyo sat in a chair that existed in several dimensions at once, reading the report with calm, patient eyes. Around him, displays showed construction projects that bent the laws of physics like children's toys. He turned to Dr. Park Hana, who was working with equations that described how to fold space-time like origami. "They have made their choice," he said quietly. Dr. Park nodded without looking up from her impossible calculations. "Admiral Lee is ready to begin Phase 1 whenever you give the order." Dr. Kim looked out through a window that showed not stars, but the swirling energies of creation itself. "Not yet. Let them come to us first. Let them show the galaxy exactly what kind of beings they really are. Then we will show them what humanity has become during our years of silence." The aliens had mocked Earth's silence, thinking it meant weakness. They would soon learn how wrong they were. 6 months after the Galactic Council's decision, the darkness at the edge of Earth's solar system suddenly blazed with light. Massive ships appeared one after another, emerging from hyperspace like hungry predators smelling blood. The mining fleet was the largest ever assembled, representing 5 different alien civilizations united by their greed and contempt for the silent world orbiting the distant yellow sun. Commander Zaxturi stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Void Render, watching the display with satisfaction. His ship alone was larger than most space stations, equipped with weapons that could crack planets and mining tools that could strip an entire moon bare in days. Around him, hundreds of other vessels took their positions, each one a masterpiece of destructive engineering. The commander's 6 eyes gleamed as he studied the tactical display showing Earth's solar system. The third planet looked so small and helpless from this distance, a tiny blue dot that had dared to ignore the mighty Galactic Confederation. His forearms moved across the control panels as he activated the fleet's communication systems. "Attention, all vessels," his voice boomed across the fleet channels. "Begin Phase 1 operations immediately. Target the asteroid belt for initial resource extraction. These cowardly humans can watch as we take what they were too weak to claim for themselves." The mining operation began with terrifying efficiency. Ships the size of cities moved toward the asteroid belt, their massive mechanical arms reaching out like the claws of giant metal beasts. Ancient asteroids that had floated peacefully through space for billions of years were suddenly grabbed, crushed and torn apart by machines that worked faster than any natural process. The aliens had brought every type of mining equipment imaginable. Some ships used gravity manipulators to pull asteroids apart piece by piece. Others fired energy beams that melted solid rock into streams of valuable metals. The largest vessels simply opened their enormous mouths and swallowed entire asteroids, whole, processing them internally with furnaces hot enough to burn steel. As the destruction continued, Commander Zaxturi decided to send a message toward Earth. He activated the most powerful communication array in the fleet, ensuring that every human on the planet would hear his words whether they wanted to or not. "Greetings, silent humans of the third planet," his voice echoed across all radio frequencies. "I am Commander Zaxturi of the Crystalline Hegemony, leader of this mining operation. We have come to collect the resources your primitive species was too lazy to harvest. Your continued silence proves you are nothing more than frightened children hiding in your bedrooms." He paused, enjoying the moment before delivering his final insult. "Perhaps watching us strip your solar system bare will finally teach you to speak when your betters address you. Or perhaps you will remain silent forever, like the cowards you have proven yourselves to be." The message was broadcast repeatedly as the mining continued. Other alien commanders joined in, each adding their own mocking words. They called humans weak, stupid, and worthless. They laughed about Earth's primitive technology and joked about how easy it would be to conquer the entire planet if they wanted to bother with such a useless world. But deep in the outer darkness of the solar system, something was watching. Automated sensors that the aliens could not detect were recording everything that happened. These devices were so advanced that they existed partially outside normal space, making them invisible to even the most sophisticated alien scanning equipment. The sensors detected energy readings that should have been impossible. Power signatures were moving beyond Pluto's orbit, signatures that showed energy outputs greater than entire star systems. But the aliens, drunk on their sense of superiority and focused on their mining operations, dismissed these readings as background radiation or equipment malfunctions. On Earth, deep beneath the Korean peninsula, Admiral Lee Soyeon stood in the Defense Coordination Center, watching the alien mining operation through quantum sensors that could observe events across 11 different dimensions simultaneously. Her face showed no emotion as she watched asteroids being destroyed, but her eyes burned with cold fire. "Admiral," called Dr. Cho Ji-won from the communication station. "The Seoul government is requesting immediate updates. Citizens are reporting the alien broadcasts and demanding to know what we plan to do about the mining operation." Admiral Lee's voice remained perfectly calm. "Inform the government that our timeline remains unchanged. We will begin Phase 1 when the aliens move beyond the asteroid belt toward the inner planets." Around her, technicians monitored systems that pulled unlimited energy directly from the quantum vacuum, while engineers made final adjustments to ships that existed in multiple dimensions at the same time. These vessels had been under construction for decades, built in secret facilities that existed in folded space hidden behind Earth's moon. Dr. Kim Yeonjun looked up from her workstation where she was monitoring consciousness transfer protocols. "The alien fleet composition matches our projections exactly. 5 major civilizations, all of them convinced that humanity poses no threat whatsoever." Admiral Lee nodded slowly. "Good. Let them continue believing that. Let them show the entire galaxy what kind of beings they really are when they think no one can stop them. When they finally reveal their true nature, we will show them what humanity accomplished during our decades of silence." The mining operation continued, each destroyed asteroid bringing the aliens closer to learning the most dangerous lesson in galactic history. Earth had not been silent because it was weak. Earth had been silent because it was busy becoming something far beyond what any of them could imagine. The alien mining fleet had been working for 3 weeks, turning the asteroid belt into a graveyard of broken rock and twisted metal. Commander Zaxaturi stood on his bridge, watching the displays that showed their progress. Thousands of asteroids had been consumed, their valuable materials now stored in the fleet's massive cargo holds. The operation was going perfectly, exactly as planned. Then something impossible appeared on their sensors. "Commander," called his tactical officer, her voice filled with confusion. "We have a single vessel approaching from the direction of Earth. It just appeared on our screens without any warning." Zaxaturi turned to look at the main display, his 6 eyes focusing on the strange object moving toward them. The ship was unlike anything in their databases. It looked like it was made of flowing white liquid metal, changing shape slightly as it moved through space. There was no visible engine, no exhaust trail, no energy signature that made any sense. "Analysis," the commander barked, his forearms gesturing impatiently at his crew. The science officer worked frantically at her station, running every scan she could think of. "Unknown hull material, sir. The computer cannot identify what it is made from. The ship appears to be only about 100 meters long, but the mass readings keep changing. Sometimes it shows up as heavy as a battleship, sometimes as light as empty space." The white vessel moved with impossible grace, flowing through the debris field of destroyed asteroids without slowing down or changing course. It seemed to simply ignore the laws of physics, moving in ways that should have torn any normal ship apart. Within minutes, it had positioned itself directly between the mining fleet and Earth, hanging motionless in space like a guard protecting its home. Commander Zaxaturi studied the strange ship with growing irritation. "Just one vessel? These humans send one tiny ship against our entire fleet? They are even more foolish than we thought." For several long minutes, nothing happened. The white ship simply floated there, neither moving nor communicating. The alien crews began to relax, thinking that perhaps the human vessel was some kind of automated probe with no real weapons or purpose. Then it spoke. The message came through every communication channel simultaneously, appearing on screens, speakers, and even directly in the minds of telepathic crew members. The voice was calm, patient, and spoke in perfect galactic standard, with an accent none of them had ever heard before. "This is Captain Yoon Jae-ho, of the Earth Defense Corps. You are conducting illegal mining operations in a protected solar system. Withdraw your fleet immediately and return to your own territories. This is your only warning. The Bridge of the Void. Render erupted in laughter. Zaxturi's 6 eyes gleamed with amusement as he looked at the tiny human ship floating before his massive fleet. His crew joined in the laughter, pointing at the displays and making jokes about human stupidity. "One ship," the commander wheezed, struggling to control his laughter. "They send one primitive vessel against 300 of the galaxy's most advanced warships. These humans have completely lost their minds." He activated the fleet's communication system, broadcasting his response on all frequencies so that every ship in the mining operation could hear. "Attention, foolish human captain. You are vastly outnumbered and completely outgunned. Your single ship cannot possibly threaten our operations. Surrender now, and we might allow you to watch as we strip your solar system clean." The white vessel remained silent for 30 seconds. Then Captain Yoon's voice came again, still perfectly calm. "Commander, I am authorized to use any necessary force to protect this system. Withdraw now or face the consequences of your actions." Zaxturi's laughter died away, replaced by cold anger. How dare these primitive humans threaten him? He had conquered star systems and destroyed entire civilizations. No single ship, especially not one built by these silent cowards, could stand against his fleet. "Weapons officer," he commanded, his voice sharp with rage. "Target that human vessel and destroy it. Show these primitives what happens when they challenge their betters." The flagship's main weapon, a massive energy cannon capable of cracking small moons, powered up with a sound like distant thunder. The entire bridge crew watched with anticipation as the targeting systems locked onto the white ship. This would teach the humans a lesson they would never forget. The cannon fired. A beam of pure energy bright enough to blind unprotected eyes lanced out toward the human vessel. It should have vaporized the ship instantly, leaving nothing but scattered atoms drifting in space. Instead, something impossible happened. The energy beam passed harmlessly through the white ship as if it were made of nothing but light and shadow. The vessel remained exactly where it was, completely undamaged and apparently unaffected by the attack. "What?" Zaxturi stared at the display in disbelief. "Fire again. Maximum power." The weapons officer obeyed, sending another devastating blast toward the human ship. Once again, the energy passed through the vessel without causing any damage. A third shot, then a fourth, all with the same impossible result. "Commander," whispered the science officer, her voice filled with fear. "The targeting computers cannot establish a solid lock. The ship appears to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. It is there, but it is also not there. Our weapons cannot hit something that exists in several dimensions at once." Captain Yoon's voice filled the bridge once more, still patient, but with a slight edge of warning. "You have been given your chance to leave peacefully. Continue your operations, at your own risk." The white vessel vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving the alien fleet staring at empty space. Unknown to them, their quantum communication systems had been quietly disabled during the encounter. They were now completely cut off from their home worlds, unable to call for help or report what they had witnessed. Commander Zaxturi's hands shook as he gripped his command chair. Whatever that ship had been, it represented technology, far beyond anything the galaxy had seen before. But his pride would not let him retreat, not in front of his entire fleet. "Resume mining operations," he ordered, his voice trying to sound confident. It was probably just some kind of holographic trick. These humans are trying to scare us with illusions. But deep in his heart, he was beginning to understand that they had made a terrible mistake. Earth's silence had not been a sign of weakness. It had been something far more dangerous. It had been preparation. The alien mining fleet continued their destructive work for another week after the strange white ship disappeared. Commander Zaxturi tried to forget about the impossible encounter, convincing himself it had been some kind of trick or hallucination. His fleet had moved closer to the inner solar system, approaching the red planet that humans called Mars. The valuable minerals there would make excellent additions to their cargo holds, but something was wrong with space itself. It started as a small distortion above Earth, like heat waves rising from hot pavement on a summer day. The fleet's sensors detected unusual energy readings, but the patterns made no sense. Space seemed to be bending and twisting in ways that violated every known law of physics. "Commander," called the science officer, her voice filled with growing panic. "The quantum field measurements around the third planet are going completely insane. Space-time itself appears to be tearing." Zaxturi looked at the main display, his 6 eyes widening in disbelief. Above Earth, reality was splitting apart like fabric being cut with an invisible knife. The tear in space grew larger and larger, revealing something behind it that made his mind struggle to understand what he was seeing. The darkness behind the tear was not empty space. It was filled with structures so massive they made his entire fleet look like tiny insects floating in an ocean. Enormous constructions surrounded Earth, some larger than gas giant planets, all humming with energies that made his flagship's power core seem like a dying candle. "What are we looking at?" he whispered, his forearms gripping the command chair so tightly that his claws left marks in the metal. Before anyone could answer, they began to emerge. Ships poured through the dimensional tear like water flowing through a broken dam. But these were not the primitive vessels the aliens had expected. Each one was a masterpiece of engineering that represented technologies the galaxy would not develop for thousands of years. Their hulls seemed to bend light around them, making them hard to look at directly. They moved without any visible engines, gliding through space as smoothly as fish swimming through water. The human vessels were enormous. The smallest ones were twice the size of Zaxturi's flagship, while the largest were so big they had their own gravity fields. The alien crews stared in horror as more and more ships appeared, each one adding to a fleet that grew beyond counting. "Sir," stammered the tactical officer, "I count over 300 human vessels so far, and more are still coming through the tear. Their energy signatures they are impossible. Each ship shows power readings greater than our entire fleet combined." Admiral Lee Soyeon stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Sejong, watching the alien mining fleet through sensors that could observe reality from 11 different dimensions at once. Around her, holographic displays showed the positions of her vessels as they took their battle formations with precision that would have been impossible for any normal fleet. "Admiral," reported Captain Nam Hyunji from the sensor station, "the alien fleet is attempting to retreat. Their faster-than-light engines are trying to activate, but they cannot establish hyperspace connections." Admiral Lee nodded calmly. "Captain, Park Doyen has been jamming their hyperspace access since they entered our system. They will not be leaving until we decide their fate." Through the main view screen, Earth hung in space like a blue jewel. But now the aliens could see the truth that had been hidden from them. Massive orbital habitats ringed the planet, connected by streams of pure energy that flowed like rivers of light. Space elevators that should have been impossible stretched from the surface to construction platforms where new vessels took shape like metal flowers blooming in the darkness. Everywhere the aliens looked, they saw wonders that challenged their understanding of what was possible. Humans had not just built ships and stations, they had restructured local space-time itself, creating pockets of folded reality where entire cities existed in spaces smaller than closets. "My God," whispered Commander Zaxturi, his voice barely audible. "They were not hiding from us. They were not primitives afraid of contact. They were becoming something beyond our comprehension." The human fleet did not attack. It simply existed, hanging in space like a demonstration of power so overwhelming that conventional weapons became meaningless. These were not the frightened primitives the galaxy had mocked. These were beings who had solved problems the aliens did not even know existed, who had spent their years of silence transforming themselves into something that transcended normal, galactic civilization. Admiral Lee's voice reached every conscious being in the alien fleet simultaneously, transmitted through methods that required no radio waves or quantum channels. Her words seemed to come from the fabric of space itself. You Came to our system believing it was undefended. You mocked our silence, thinking it meant we were weak and afraid. You planned to strip our worlds bare and take what you wanted by force. You were wrong about everything. Around Earth, more wonders became visible as the dimensional fold continued to widen. The aliens could see construction projects that spanned entire star systems, energy collectors that drew power directly from the quantum vacuum, and research stations where humans experimented with forces that could reshape reality itself. We were silent because we were busy, Admiral Lee continued, her voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. While you fought wars over resources, we learned to create matter from pure energy. While you struggled with faster-than-light travel, we learned to fold space-time like origami. While you built empires based on conquest and greed, we built a civilization that could survive the end of the universe. The alien crews realized they were not looking at a military fleet preparing for battle. They were witnessing the emergence of a post-scarcity civilization that had transcended every limitation that bound normal galactic society. Earth had not been a primitive world hiding in fear. It had been the nursery of something magnificent beyond imagination. And now that something was fully awake and ready to reshape the galaxy forever, the human fleet arranged itself in perfect formation around the trapped alien mining vessels, each ship a testament to humanity's transformation beyond anything the galaxy had ever imagined. Admiral Lee Soyan stood on the bridge of the Sejong, looking out at the alien fleet that had come to destroy Earth's solar system. Her voice carried across space without any visible transmission method, reaching every conscious being in the enemy vessels. I am Admiral Lee of the Korean Stellar Defense Command, speaking for the United Earth Authority. You believed our silence meant we were primitive and weak. You were completely wrong. We were silent because we were solving the real problems that face all intelligent life in the universe. Commander Zach Story watched in stunned terror as human vessels began demonstrating capabilities that shattered his understanding of what was possible. One ship, no larger than his own flagship, reached out with invisible fields and began repairing the asteroid damage his fleet had caused over the past weeks. Broken chunks of rock flowed back together like water, reforming into perfect spheres, as if the destruction had never happened. How? He whispered, his 6 eyes unable to look away from the impossible sight. How are they rebuilding matter at the atomic level? That should require the energy output of an entire star system. Captain Song Minky, commanding the human science vessel Taijong, answered the alien's unspoken question by broadcasting to the entire mining fleet. While your civilizations fought endless wars over limited resources, we discovered how to create any material we needed from quantum foam. Scarcity is a problem we solved 30 years ago. Another human vessel, the research ship Chungmu, under Captain Han Jisoo, demonstrated space-time manipulation by casually moving one of Jupiter's moons from its normal orbit to a different position entirely. The energy requirements should have been impossible for any civilization to achieve, yet the humans accomplished it with the same ease as moving a chess piece across a board. Dr. Kim Yeonjin appeared on every screen throughout the alien fleet. Simultaneously, her image transmitted through methods that bypassed all known communication systems. Your species are still trapped in biological bodies, limited by chemical thinking and single-timeline existence. We uploaded our consciousness to quantum substrates decades ago. We exist across multiple dimensional planes at the same time. Death, aging, and physical limitations are problems we left behind long ago. The alien crews stared in growing amazement and fear as more human technologies operated beyond their comprehension. Captain Lim Seonho of the vessel Geumgang demonstrated matter transmission by instantly moving an entire asteroid from the belt to a position near Mars, then back again, all without any visible energy expenditure or transportation method. We can exist anywhere in the universe simultaneously, Dr. Kim continued, her calm voice explaining concepts that broke the aliens' understanding of reality. We can create matter, energy, and even space itself from pure quantum information. We have learned to manipulate the fundamental forces that hold reality together. Commander Zaksturi found his voice, though it cracked with terror and awe. What do you want from us? Why are you showing us these impossible things? Admiral Lee's Response came with infinite patience, like a teacher explaining simple concepts to confused children. We are offering your civilizations the same choice we offered ourselves 40 years ago. You can transcend your current limitations and join us in solving the universe's real challenges. Help us prevent cosmic collapse, seed life across dead galaxies, and prepare for existence beyond this reality. Or you can continue playing with primitive technologies while the adults work on what actually matters. The human fleet began to withdraw, not in retreat but in dismissal. Their demonstration was complete, their message delivered. Captain Park Doyen of the dimensional research vessel Hwarang transmitted hyperspace navigation coordinates to every ship in the alien fleet. These are the routes back to your home territories, he announced. Your communication systems are now restored. You may contact your governments and inform them of what you have witnessed here. Your ships are free to leave whenever you choose. The dimensional tear began to close, hiding Earth's true nature once again behind the illusion of a simple blue planet. Admiral Lee delivered humanity's final message to the galaxy. Tell your leaders what you saw here today. Earth is no longer silent because we no longer need to hide what we have become. We spent decades transforming ourselves into something beyond your current understanding. We can reshape reality itself, create unlimited resources, and exist beyond the constraints of normal space and time. The human vessels began disappearing back through the dimensional fold, returning to their hidden construction facilities and research stations. But before the tier closed completely, Admiral Lee left the alien fleet with one last thought. The question now is whether your species will evolve beyond their current limitations and join us in the next phase of galactic civilization, or remain content with fighting over scraps while we rebuild the universe itself. The choice is yours, but choose quickly. The cosmos will not wait forever for you to grow up. The dimensional tier sealed itself, leaving the alien mining fleet alone in normal space with their broken understanding of reality. Earth appeared once again as a simple blue world orbiting an ordinary yellow star. But the aliens now knew the truth. Behind that peaceful appearance lay a civilization that had become something godlike in its power and wisdom. Commander Zax Turi stared at Earth through his view screen, his hands shaking as he gave orders to retreat. The beings who had once mocked humanity's silence now faced a choice that would determine the future of every species in the galaxy. They could evolve or remain primitive. They could transcend or be left behind. The galaxy would never underestimate silence again.